Gentleman yields. Now I'd like to recognize the gentlelady from North Carolina, Ms. Foushee.
Thank you to the chair and the ranking member for holding this bipartisan hearing today, and thank you, Director Kratsios, for your testimony and for appearing before us this morning. In March of this year, the Trump administration, and you just noted, announced the creation of the Ratepayer Protection Pledge to protect Americans from the electricity price increases associated with the country's data center build-out. The announcement came with great fanfare, lofty promises, even a fancy signing ceremony at the White House with you sitting right next to President Trump. This was supposed to be your answer to the worry and the fear felt by so many Americans that data centers would cause energy prices to skyrocket even more in years to come. Well, that was March, and now it's July, and Americans are wondering whether the Ratepayer Protection Pledge has made a real difference or whether it was just another empty promise from this administration. We already know the answer in North Carolina. Nothing has changed. Duke Energy tried to raise electricity rates on residential customers by 18%, and only after a public backlash did it lower the rate hike. But rates are still set to increase by more than 3% at a time when people can't afford to pay more. That's why 3 of 4 of the counties in my district have implemented moratoria on data centers development. That's why the town of Apex in my district rejected a proposed data center and imposed its own moratorium, a local grassroots decision that I proudly support. Director Kratsios, you may not want to admit that the Ratepayer Protection Pledge has been a complete failure, but my constituents know the truth. The pledge promised to, and I quote, lower electricity costs for consumers in the long term. So my question is, are electricity costs for American consumers lower now than they were in March?
I think the Ratepayer Protection Pledge is one of the announcements by the president that is probably the most consequential of this term when it comes to AI. The idea that the hyperscalers and the AI companies themselves made a commitment to the American people that in any community they go into, they commit to essentially build, bring, or buy all their own power, ultimately ensuring that rates do not go up because of what they're building. And the president was very clear with them. The American people should not be paying more for electricity because of these data centers. He was very firm and he was very clear, and he got them to agree to do this. This was a big accomplishment, and I don't think any president could strong arm some of the largest technology companies in the world to make such a commitment. And I think as these companies try to go out into the world and convince Americans that they need to build these data centers, I think because of the pledge, I think Americans can be much more confident that
Mr. Chair, I want to reclaim my time on that. That's not my question. The pledge promised that companies would, quote, agree to protect American consumers from price hikes due to data center energy and infrastructure requirements. So has this voluntary pledge stopped energy price hikes on local communities in this country?
Energy price hikes caused from the addition of new data center capacity to the grid, yes, it has stopped it because of that.
Okay, the pledge made a whole series of promises, not binding agreements, about what data center companies would do to hold down electricity costs for Americans. It was build, bring, or buy, as you said earlier, new electricity generation, pay for all new power delivery infrastructure upgrades required for their data centers, also voluntary negotiate new separate rate structures with utilities. Are all new data centers in America complying with the promises of this voluntary pledge? I'm going to ask the question again.
I don't know. I don't keep track of that.
Well, let me just say this. Energy prices are still soaring. Data centers are still a major driver of it, and this administration has done nothing to stop it.
What makes this exchange important is that Representative Valerie Foushee was not simply asking whether the White House had announced a plan. She was asking a much more basic question. Did the plan actually make electricity cheaper for Americans?